Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and call this regularly scheduled City of Newberry Commission meeting on August 23rd to order. We're going to start with an approval of the agenda. The only question I would ask for approval of the agenda is from the commissioners that I've had the opportunity to speak to. We have had some difficulty getting to all of the applicants on the P&Z, and people feel like it's not fair that I got through 3 or 4 and I didn't get through the others. So I know I hate to do this, but I know that that's number 8 on tonight's agenda. I don't think tonight's agenda will take too long, but if the commission feels like it's unfair to have that agenda item on until they have the opportunity to talk to everyone, I would ask them to push that to the next meeting. We'd pull that item off now so folks know that they could have the night off if they wanted. Thoughts? Commissioner Martin?
I know I was particularly challenged trying to get around to everyone. I did email a couple back that I couldn't get to, and I know one of them had graciously responded that they understand, so I would like a little more time if
One more meeting, 2 more weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, I get a head nod. Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda with removing item 8 under agenda items. Time certain, we'll bring that back at the next commission meeting. Again, all the applicants, we apologize. Part of it, we have so many applicants that trying to get to everybody and treat everybody fairly and have that opportunity. We haven't had to face that challenge quite yet, so it's a good problem to have. With that, I'll ask for a motion to the approved agenda with that change.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, a second from Commissioner Mazon. Any comments or questions from the dais on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, any comments or questions from the public on the motion on the floor? With that one change. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please rise for the invocation delivered by Pastor Jack Andrews from our very own First Baptist Church here in Newberry, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to follow. Pastor Jack, welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Let's pray together.
Thank you for that invocation, Pastor Jack, and we gave a special prayer to Commissioner Coleman here on his birthday. It's a miracle birthday. Glad to be able to celebrate one more with you, sir. All right, our first presentation, if you guys will let Travis come on down, I think you have a little recognition and award to let the commission know about. Travis.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Happy birthday, Mr. Ricky. I get the pleasure of standing up here today and speaking to the accomplishments of our 14U softball team. They had an amazing year. They're district champs, state champs. They went to the World Series. They finished 5th. At the World Series, they were the only team to beat the eventual World Series winners. Ooh. So, yeah, really amazing team. Nice. Amazing group of coaches. I should have prepared a speech because I got a lot to say, and I know I'm going to forget it, but I'm going to let John come up and introduce his coaching staff and his players. But I want to say a huge thank you to these coaches and families and parents. I think you guys know maybe 3 years ago, we didn't have a softball program. They came in and they built a program, and we're really proud of them, really proud of what they've done, and we're really glad they were part of Newberry. So just want to thank you guys and give them a round of applause.
Hi, thank y'all. I'd like to introduce my coaching staff and my girls. J.C. Kerwin, my assistant coach. Josh Carton. Over here we have Rihanna Williams. Hey, take a stand. Stand up.
Stand up for us, ladies, so we can...
We have Miss Gordon Witt. Olivia Lockwood. We have Sylvia Kerwin. Madison Dean. Josie Kerwin, Allie Sanitz, Kylie Wilson. In the back we have Emma Barton and Kylie Kitchen. Amazing group of girls. They did us proud, so did the city of Newberry proud. So.
We are super excited, and ladies, if you would, and Coach, if you bring your coaching staff down here, I'd have a certificate we'd like to present. Straight up around here, we'll put the coaches a couple on each side. Here. I'm just gonna see if I can just slide that right out of the way. And don't worry, I'll put it back.
I got it, Gordon. Y'all go ahead.
Coach, well done. All right. Thank you, sir. I'm going to present that to you. I'll get you got it right side up.
1, 2, 3.
All right, well done, ladies. Good job. Way to make Newberry look proud. I'd like to see all of you at Newberry High School softball, and pretty soon. Well done. Good job. Good job. Good job. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Be careful. Thank you. I'm sending you to say don't try. I made it so you will try.
Hey, where's Mike New at? Mike New. Mike. Mike.
Pass them around.
You're tearing it up.
Yeah. Grab a dum-dum. Grab two. That's wrong, Mike. Good job, ladies. Good job. Champion. We love champions.
Take them both.
Hey, Bonnie Farnsworth played in the 1912 World Series.
1913. Travis, thank you for bringing them up tonight, organizing that. We always like to celebrate when our youth does so well. That's amazing. Good job. Okay, if you haven't heard, there's a parade and a celebration to welcome home the veterans from Afghanistan being planned by our very own American Legion, and I think Railroad Bob is here tonight. I'm sorry, Bob is here. I call him Railroad Bob. Is here tonight to tell us a little bit about that. And Mike, do you have any information, or is Bob just going to come up here and launch right into it?
It's the Bob Show, Mr. Mayor.
Come on, Railroad Bob. You can explain to everybody why I call you Railroad Bob.
I'm going to step in for Railroad.
Oh, there you go.
I'm Major Stroop, past commander, American Legion Post 149. Tonight we have our commander here with us, and of course Railroad Bob is going to give you all the goods. I want to say, first off, thank you for the time for us. We really appreciate it. Unless you've been hiding under a rock these days, you know things overseas are a little bit rough, and that's putting it mildly. Many of us are Vietnam-era veterans, and we know what happened there. In the midst of drawing down, pulling out of any type of war, there's always chaos. But when the announcement was made, as you all well know, was not long ago, and to plan an event of what we're undertaking, we didn't, to be honest with you, we were not even sure we could pull this off. But I'm going to tell you, no one, absolutely no one has said no. everybody is supported. This is America's longest war, and we want to make sure our veterans who served in this over 20-year war feel welcome, and we have a place for them right here in Newberry. So with that being said, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I'm going to introduce Railroad Bob, and he's going to tell you the goods. Thank you.
Awesome. Come on, Railroad Bob. Major did a good job. I'm pumped. I'm pumped up. I'm ready. Let's celebrate right now. Yeah.
Mayor, Commissioners, I'm known as Railroad Bob, and it's okay to call me Railroad Bob. The High Springs Police Chief 6 years ago gave me that name because I like model trains, and I used to run the museum. What you got in your packet, there's a flyer, and then there's this, it looks like an agenda, it's a guideline. We ask that you don't make copies of that because, believe me, it changes every day. What I tell you tonight, I'll have more things tomorrow and the day after and so forth. But I wanted to give you an idea where we're at. I came up with this idea about a month ago because when I came from Vietnam, I got anything but a welcome. It was not nice. So I wanted to do something with our vets coming home to make them feel welcome. Number one, give the resources they would need to help them out to get their feet wet again and have a good time. So we turn it into a family type of issue with this. To run real quick, it was welcome home after saying Veterans and Parade. The parade will be in Newberry from the Produce Center to the First Baptist Church. And we got all the working with Newberry city people to get that all set up and going, and also the Adjutant County Sheriff Office. I'm pleased they announced that they have volunteered their time, including the Sheriff's Office. So that was
Good job, Railroad Bob.
So we appreciate that for everything you've done on that part, getting started. Again, this is for the veterans. We're not making anything the American Legion makes and donations and so forth, after the few expenses we have, goes to all the vet programs. And we can get you those, name of those programs at a later date. I've asked your mayor to be the Grand Marshal. He has agreed to do that, along with the Teen Queen, because the regular Watermelon Queen is out of town. And so the Teen Queen, and I didn't get a name yet, but she is going to be riding with him. I have 10 old cars. One of them will be a convertible that the mayor will be riding in with the Teen Queen. And that, I don't know what age these vehicles are in that, but his name is Mark Wyatt out of, that I met. So, and there'll also be a car show type of issue afterwards. In the parade to date, and this is only as of tonight, and like I said, it changes, is other than the Grand Marshal, we have some 10 old cars coming. We also have the American Legion bike riders, and possibly, if they get over the virus, the Lake City riders for American Legion. We're trying to find a couple of marching bands. Newberry didn't because of the virus. They were concerned about that, so they opt out. We have the Young Marines coming, and they'll also be doing the color guard presentation. There'll be different floats that will be on display. There will be military vehicles from the National Guard, and they're going to be exotic vehicles we're getting, not just a vehicle, and they'll have staff on duty to explain everything in detail. And it's the Division 631 out of Stark. We had to move it from the American Legion to Clark Plantation because, like I said, it grew it, and we thought, and even Major said, we didn't think it was going to get this big that quick. It was going to be a little parade. That's how that got started. We're excited about this. So you have the address that's on there, and the parade will start to 10 to 11. Give them a little time to get over to Clark Plantation. It's about 4 or 5 miles from downtown Hyde.
You want questions as they come in? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
I think your address has got the wrong, I think it's Southwest 202nd Street, by the way.
We looked that up, and we had some people research that, and we were told it was west. So if it's southwest,
Yeah.
it is? Okay, we'll fix that then.
But thank you, Clark Plantation,
Yeah,
for
thank
helping
you.
get a spot. We'll make sure everybody gets to the right Clark Plantation.
Yeah, we will have signs out there,
Yeah.
it'll say event with an arrow, turn left, right, or go straight, so.
September.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even pay attention to it myself there, but it is southwest, 200%.
Okay, well, we're on the flyers, a link to our face page, and we'll also put the corrections on there. So you can go that way to get the answers. At 12 o'clock, we're going to have the open prayer. Tyrone Watson will be doing it. His wife will be singing the opening song along with the color guard presenting the color guards will be done at that time. And we have a few speakers. One of them is the mayor. Number 2 is Clovis Watson. And a few other ones we got coming to speak. And like I said, Clemens is another one we're waiting to hear from on that. So as soon as we get these in, so if you go to the Facebook page, you'll get up to date what's going on and who's coming. We have bands, we have,
I'm sorry, I'm his daughter. I'm Christine New. Dad, you're gonna have to move this along because you're running out of time.
okay.
Okay?
But it's all right, because it changes every day, so you don't have to go through the outline with it. Just tell us what time you want us to show up and how much money you want Ricky to donate.
We'll take anything, any donation to make the vets happy. If you want to throw a dollar,
So
we'll
the
be happy.
parade's going to start at 10 o'clock. After the parade, we're all heading out to Clark Plantation to
Right,
have a
and
good
there'll be
time.
bands starting around 1 o'clock. We have about
Perfect.
8, 9 bands. There'll be raffles, there'll be a silent auction, and I have to tell you, we have a $500 gift certificate from Publix, a 3-day stay in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia, and possibly a Harvey Davidson bike.
Oh, that's mine right there.
And so,
And I'm only the Grand Marshal until DeSantis or President Biden accepts the invitation. Then I'll gladly step aside.
yes, we're working on the governor.
Yeah.
We're waiting to hear from his office.
All right, well, we
The other
appreciate
thing
it.
is, there'll be food trucks, kids, activities, face painting, and more. There'll be like a vehicle display of all the older cars will be on display, and military vehicles will be on display.
Sounds amazing. Well, we appreciate and thank you for putting this on. It's a heartfelt thing that you guys are doing. It makes us all proud that you're here in our community, and so thank you for all the work.
I
know
apologize
that
for
it's-
talking too long, I'm just excited about it.
That's all right.
Thank
We
you
know it's
very
a
much.
lot of work to put it on, and it looks like you forgot one thing in all of that. So you gotta come down to the microphone though, ma'am, so we can get you into Mrs. New.
Miss New.
Yeah.
Okay, so the parade and the expo are 9/25/2021. It's a Saturday in September.
All
So
right.
I don't know if we just needed to know, you guys to know that too.
Okay. We appreciate it. 9:25. We're going to get started at 10 o'clock in the morning, and everybody in Newberry line up, just like you would for just about every parade in Newberry. It would start at the produce, and I think it's going to end right around here at the First Baptist and cut off. So, and I want to say thank you to Alachua County Sheriff's Office for donating that to the Legion to put this on. That's wonderful. We appreciate it, and we'll work on making sure you get President Biden down here, or Governor, one or the other, we'll get them, all right? Thank you, guys, we appreciate you, that's very exciting.
Thank you.
Okay, and next up is our insurance service offices, and, Mike, are you introducing this? or-
Well, Scott's going to come down and
Scott's gonna
speak to
come
this.
down. All
We
right.
hear all the time that ISO, Insurance Services Offices, works with our fire department to rate it. What we don't hear so much is that they do a similar evaluation of our building department. They've done that. We showed some improvements. Scott's going to kind of go through in a brief presentation what they found and what it means to us and where we're headed.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Mayor, Commission, and before I start on that, I know they left, but I want to thank the American Legion. My son was 12 years old when 9/11 happened, and he ended up serving 2 tours in Afghanistan in the Army. And he's living in Kansas right now, finally getting his life together. It's taken him a while, but he's finally getting it together. Yeah, the Insurance Services Officers, or ISO, everyone knows about with the fire department and how the better they score, the lower insurance rates are. And it's the same with the building department. What they do is they come out, they do a building code effectiveness grading schedule. When I came on about 5 months ago, we had it scheduled for like 2 weeks after I started, and I was able to push it back a month, and we were able to get the audit together. It is a big undertaking to get all the data together for this. Janine and Sierra both really came through and helped get this together. So what we were able to do is get our score from a 4, which is like an average, up to a 3, which is above average. I don't know if you could, I guess I have to click her, don't I? Do I click this one? All right. Look at that. Technology. All right. So I'm just going to kind of skip ahead because I don't want to bore with all the details. But nationwide, we are in the top like 15% as far as residential, and the top 25% in commercial, which is phenomenal. It really is. In the state of Florida, we are in the top 25% and well above 50%. So we've been doing great in regards to that. So what that means is that people in homes, especially ones that are built now, can get lower insurance rates. It's going to save them money. And this didn't cost us anything. There was no, nothing we did. We actually saved money. What we did was we brought the plan reviews that were being outsourced, we brought them back in-house. We did that. That saves us about $30,000 a year by doing it in-house instead of outsourcing it. The other thing we did is we actually came up with a plan review criteria. So we actually have a checklist that we follow. So we know that every house is being approved the same. We're checking every single code. We're making sure it's done. It's consistent. It's like going to McDonald's. You're going to get the same thing over and over again. So we know we don't miss anything. The same goes for commercial. Again, we didn't have that before, so it was a really, really big undertaking. But we were able to pull it off. And that's really, I think, all I have. Unless you have any questions, and we'll say no.
Commission have any questions?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Excellent work. We appreciate that update. It's nice to know that the ISO is not just for fire services, so I think that's great information.
Yes, thank you.
You looking for some new furniture too, Scott?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, your commission likes to hear from the public. We'd like to set aside time early in the agenda to give you the opportunity to make short, non-controversial announcements. If you would like a little bit longer, we have time set aside at the end of the meeting for 5-minute comments. So if what you want to bring up is a little bit more controversial, we'd ask for you to wait for then. But does anyone have anything you'd like to let the commission know about? I see a really pretty sign.
Thank you. Can y'all hear me all right?
We can, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Marlon Day with the Alachua County Library District, the Newberry Branch Library Manager. September is National Library Card Sign-Up Month, and we're encouraging everyone who doesn't have a library card to go ahead and get one. Library cards are free for all Florida residents through Alachua County, so stop by any branch with a picture, identification, and proof of address, and for most people, just a driver's license will do, and you can get your library card. A reminder that even with this Delta surge going on, we're currently open with most of our regular services. We're also still offering curbside option if patrons don't wish to come into the building. For the National Library Card Sign-Up Month, we're going to have a contest. People can come in and take their picture with this, tag us on social media, and we're giving away 10 prizes of gift certificates. We are asking that influencers take their picture in advance so we can get some publicity about this. So Commissioner Martin, thank you for taking the picture already. I'm going to leave this with Amy. If at the end of the meeting tonight, if y'all want to have a picture, I'd appreciate it. No,
Commissioner Mason, he's really photogenic. If you saw him this weekend, he stole the show.
Nothing. I got a question though.
Ask away.
Now, I could be confusing this with Amazon, but at one point, didn't you guys have like an app that you can go online?
We do have an app, yes, absolutely. We have an app called Libby. You can go online, you can download books, you can download audiobooks. You can check out up to 25 of those each. With Libby, you also, if you have a Kindle, you can download them straight to your Kindle through the Libby app as well. So it's a great service. It really surged a lot during COVID. We started doing digital verification of addresses during COVID, so people didn't even have to come in to get library cards. They could just check out the materials online. During the National Library Card Month, we're going to start a digital card service. We're going to roll that out that month as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Other public comment? Leave that, put that right there in front of Commissioner Mazon's desk, and we'll make sure he gets
Photoed.
maybe we'll get one with the whole dais
Look it up.
also. A little group shot. Come on down.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all back in your chairs.
Yes.
This is the first time I've seen you all in a while. Lisa Tate with Newberry Main Street, interim and acting executive director only. This is not a permanent spot. I did just want to mention, and I don't know if Mayor Marlowe was going to talk about it a little bit later, but Friday night we had a fantastic turnout with the Black Lives Matter at the Art Gallery. I see there's some chattering on Facebook that some of those artists are even connecting and wanting to go forward and continuing with that, which had some beautiful art, had some nice music, well attended, and I thought it was a great cursor to the Saturday morning events that were attended well by everyone as well, and just appreciate all that, the support that we've gotten from you guys, and hang in there and keep trying to coordinate that and keep, Main Street being the place that we can be for Newberry City.
Absolutely. It was amazing. The art show was called Through Black Eyes.
Did I say it wrong?
I think you said Black Lives Matter.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. There's a lot of phrase going. There was, but it was a tremendous show, really well attended. The artist's work was beautiful, and I saw a lot of it missing by the end of the night, which means that some artists
We had
sold
several
some work.
sales.
So it was great. And 1906 partnered with the young woman who put it on, as well as Main Street and the Firehouse Gallery. They had a special that night. They created a drink. So it was kind of a art walk night right here in Newberry. It was great. Had a good time.
I just really want to commend the efforts of you, Mayor Marlowe, and Larry Wilson, who is not here, but he
worked hard.
He just does a fabulous job over there, and we're glad and fortunate to
Don't
have him.
commend me. This was Larry, and this was Caitlin Oxer, the young woman who put it on. I did virtually nothing, except
Wonderful.
introduce them.
Thank you.
Greeted at the door.
And greeted at the door, yes.
Good evening, Commission and Mr. Mayor and Dice. My
Good
name's
evening,
Naeem.
Mr. Chair.
What's that?
Mr. Chair of the PNC. I was just addressing you. Yes,
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Well, I come to you today, Mr. Mayor and the board, as the Vice Chair of the Opioid Task Force here in Newberry, Florida. I'm excited to let you know that we are back and rolling in our meetings. And I want you guys to save this date, October 23rd. We are having our re-kickoff event. Unfortunately, last year, because of the virus situation, we had to keep pushing things back, and we could not get our kickoff event going. This crisis has hit our city, our county, our state, our nation even harder because of this virus. So it is imperative that we get this kickoff event going, and I'm asking you October 23rd to please save that date. We will be making more announcements soon. Tomorrow we'll have another meeting to gather more on what's going to happen, but I really would like to see a participation of the city. That's part of...
We'll have more details to follow soon. So today is a save the date announcement.
Right.
We're going to pick a location at
Kind of like the
tomorrow's-
wedding's going to happen, but we ain't going to tell you exactly when it's going to happen. We just have the date right now.
Plantation.
Yeah. We heard that this guy, Clark Plantation, had a great
Very
venue.
community, yeah.
Very community-oriented.
We're looking at 2 or 3 spots in town that we're just trying to figure out what kind of event we're going to be able to manage, and traffic and flow and parking and those kind of things. But the vice chair is absolutely correct. This task force was begun by this commission when we found out that Alachua County had the 2nd highest rate of opioid addiction in the state of Florida. Wow. And all of those numbers have skyrocketed since we put people on house arrest and had them stay in their
It's bad.
homes. it has become exacerbated. And it's been frustrating for this committee, who was poised to do some really great work, and to have to kind of put all of that on pause. So I'm really excited to see it kicking back up and gearing back up. I really appreciate the work you guys did on that small kickoff event you had down there at Joel's. That was great, and I look to see more of those kinds of things in the future.
Yeah, so I want to thank you guys for all the support. We ask that you help us launch this as best we can coming up. I think this crisis is being pushed even harder now because of people are starting to see what's happening because of everybody staying home, and it's become an even deeper problem. So our motto going is from silence to solutions. We're tired of being quiet. We're tired of keeping us down. We need to speak up, and we need to help these people and, possibly stop it before it even occurs. So thank you guys. October 23rd, you'll hear more from me as soon as we get more information, but just save the date for now.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. All right, guys.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was published. I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, second from Commissioner Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. That'll take us to our first public hearing ordinance, final fire rate assessment. I see Mike making his way down. Do you want Scott to read the resolution in before you get going, or are you ready? Do you need a couple minutes?
It's up to you,
Couple
Scott.
seconds?
I'll get it out of the way.
Go ahead, Scott, read the resolution in.
There's a resolution in the City of Newberry, Florida relating to the provision of fire rescue services, facilities, and programs within the City of Newberry, Florida, establishing the rate of assessment, reimposing fire rescue assessments against assessed property located in the City of Newberry for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2021, approving the assessment roll, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion at the appropriate time is to pass Resolution 2021-29 as read by title only.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes, sir.
Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Attorney, Mr. City Attorney. I'm Mike New, but tonight I'll be Dallas Lee, your Chief Financial Officer, and I will pitch the resolution for approving the final fire assessment. We do this every year as part of our budget process. Back in June, the commission adopted a preliminary fire assessment rate of $195, which was up $20 from our current rate, but it was $30 below the maximum that you're allowed to go to. As we went through budget discussions, and particularly a discussion about whether we would purchase a new Quint in the upcoming fiscal year, the commission directed us to establish the resolution to set the residential rate at $190, which is $5 less than we advertised in the Truth and Millage notice that went out to all of our residents, and we have prepared Resolution 2021-29 in accordance with that. Also, as you know, fire assessment is used to collect a portion of the revenues that we use to operate our fire department. I think that it brings in somewhere just north of $500,000. The balance, we get a little over $200,000 for Alachua County for services that we provide into unincorporated Alachua County, and then the rest is made up through property taxes and communications tax and sales tax that we all receive from the state of Florida. So that concludes my presentation. Mr. Mayor, I'm available for question. The recommended action is to approve Resolution 2021-29.
Okay, do we have any questions? Commissioner Farnsworth.
Mike, with the additional revenue that we're getting from the government regarding for the COVID thing, are we able to use any of that towards this, towards the Quint?
I don't recall specifically. My best recollection from Dallas is that we could not.
Okay.
Dallas will be back in the office tomorrow. I'll make sure we address that.
Same question. Dallas said no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any way to reallocate any kind of the revenue from the that we were previously going to be using for some other thing that the the federal money can be used towards, and use that money towards buying the Quint.
That is a possibility. One thing that the feds will allow you to do is to replace revenues that you ordinarily would have received last year, but did not due to COVID. It's a revenue replacement stopgap feature. So we would have to identify how much revenue that we anticipated receiving that we did not, and we could then allocate that money from our from the federal funds and that amount, and then that would hit our general fund, and then the commission could then utilize it towards the Quint, and it would pay down. We didn't lose $800,000, which is the cost of a new Quint. We would be able to identify probably something less than $100,000 in lost revenue as a result of COVID. But $100,000 is real money. If the commission wants us to pursue that, we'll make sure we have that answer for you as we go through the budget process.
Right. One of the things I was concerned about is, of course, we're having to increase the cost of water and electricity and so as those costs go up, and I would try to decrease any kind of financial burden that we have on the citizens any way possible, instead of if we're able to manipulate that money around some way so we don't have to charge them even more for the fire assessment.
Understood, and I think whenever we come before you in the first budget hearing, we will have compiled what these total charges look like. Again, to me, what gets most confusing is some of the charges we refer to as annual and some are monthly, and we got to get them all in the same scale. So like this is a $15 increase on a monthly bill. It's going to feel like $1.25 per month increase, and then we'll go ahead and add in what the commission has asked us to consider for water and for wastewater, so that the commission and the community will know what type of increases, the cumulative increase. And also, just as a reminder, the commission was asking us to free up general fund cash, recurring cash, for debt service payment, which was kind of how we arrived here. So, if the commission finds other ways to address debt service, then there would be those savings as well.
Okay. One of the other concerns I have is that we are increasing our rates, we're increasing the fire assessment fee, and yet we are giving $50,000 back to businesses. It seems that it doesn't seem really fair to the citizens for us to be taking money from them and then reimbursing the businesses. And I understand the reason why we're doing that, but I don't know whether that's something we need to look at, maybe doing away with or not. Would like some other input from the other commissioners on that.
Okay. Commissioner Martin?
Yeah, I mean, sounds like a couple of those things may be general budget questions. I know for me personally, I actually appreciate the concept of trying to do some of it through taxes and some of it through the assessment, only from the standpoint that we do have a lot of older homes in the community that are benefiting on one side from the Save Our Homes increases, and arguably those homes may be even a little bit more difficult from a firefighting standpoint because they were built, before there were certain safety measures and those sort of things. So I do like doing it this way. That's really just my input.
Commissioner Clark?
No,
I don't have nothing right this second. I'll just. Okay, Commissioner Maison?
Okay, just on the records, we do offer, reduced costs or none for those residents that cannot afford to pay full costs.
Correct, Mr. Mayor, that when the City Commission established the fire assessment, there is an opportunity to appeal to have it partially reduced or completely eliminated. Dallas reminded us in the last meeting that for the '22 fiscal year, that window is closed. I'm not exactly sure when the cutoff date for that is, but they have to do it early enough in the year for the tax assessor collector to get it on their records. So that period probably terminates in the spring sometime, but we do have residents that take advantage of that program, and we'll continue to offer that program because it's written straight into our ordinance addressing the fire assessment.
Commissioner Martin? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Maison, were you done?
Seniority.
You still have the floor. I thought I saw the
No,
light.
I was just gonna, I wanted to be reminded of when the last time we even raised the fire assessment. It seems like
4
it's
years
been-
ago when we bought the engine.
Are there any, am I okay? Are there any exemptions to paying the fire assessment fee?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, our program specifically exempts government entities, not-for-profit organizations, and that translates to churches, and certain ag properties if the buildings are less than $10,000 or if the building is considered only a pole barn.
You still have the floor.
We are good.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments? Okay, so we've had a couple workshops on how to approach these things. This was what we directed staff to bring back. Now it's time to do what we told staff we would do. So we've already read the resolution into the record. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, a
Second.
second from Commissioner Maison. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Any public comments or questions from the motion on the floor? Come on down, sir.
Now you can put the clock on. Naeem Erchad, citizen. My question on the, my comment, sorry, I'm not allowed the question, is it's more of a concern of, are we doing this correctly in the sense that we're going to spend it where it needs to be spent the most? Because as an admin of most of our city forums, I try to share as much as possible events and things that the city's posting. My biggest concern is when I'm sharing these jobs that are available, I'm sharing a firefighter position, and then the next comment is, how embarrassing that we're paying our firefighters $15 an hour. And I just don't have a response as an admin to that, because one, I'm not a city worker, I'm not required to do that, but I just kind of feel like if I as a citizen I'm going to be expected to pay this, and this is what you guys are voting on, I just want security that we're going to try to protect what matters most, which is our firefighters, and pay them more, because I'm reading here responding to fire, non-medical emergencies, maintaining readiness to respond. I would like to see if something is being done to treat our men and women a little bit better as far as when it comes to their salaries. I don't know if that's something that I can suggest as a citizen, but I would like to see that as a citizen, our men and women being paid a little bit more to actually attract more talent.
Okay.
With all due respect.
Thank you, sir, for that comment. And just so that everyone knows, when we do things through assessments, they have to go to what we say they're going to go to. When you do things through millage rates, the next commission can change what they want. So assessments have to, and I believe, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're mixing two different pots, because assessments can go towards the capital outlays, not to the operational expenses. So it would be inappropriate to talk about wages when we're talking about assessments, because the assessments go to pay for things like the engine, the quint, the building, those kinds of things. Mike, did I miss any?
Well, Mr. Mayor, everything you said is accurate. A couple things related to salaries with firefighters. One, I think that this board and this administration supports paying our employees for what they're worth. rather than pay them as little as we can and hope they stay employed. That is not the way to attract the best and the brightest. Our firefighter wages are negotiated through collective bargaining. It's not just something that we establish. So it's a negotiated contract. It does have a step system in it for year-to-year advances, so we're not at the bargaining table every year. And we know the market. We evaluate at least the local market continuously. But I'd say probably the biggest thing that relates to firefighters that catches most people off guard a little bit, including me, is their hourly rate is not multiplied by 2080 like the rest of us are. Their hourly rate is multiplied by 2980 or 2990, which means they get almost a third more hours or 50% more hours than the average employee. So that $15 doesn't equate to a $30,000 a year salary. It equates to a $45,000 a year base salary. All of our firefighters make an abundance of overtime. It's a problem. We have too much overtime for them. So it's not as bad as it might seem at first blush that they're barely making what the federal government or the state government has now mandated as the minimum wage.
And as a teacher with 3 higher education diplomas, I would love to make $45,000 a year. Commissioner Martin.
I would also add in, when this was first discussed, adding a fire assessment, we had pledged, there's different bodies up here now, but we had pledged that the assessment would be in addition to what the firefighter department was getting. So we didn't pull the bait and switch like they did with the schools and the lotto money. We did not offset the money that was going into their pot from the general fund or from taxes with this money. It was an addition. The commission since then has maintained that position, and I continue to advocate for that position as well.
I've never seen an elected board say that we are going to put public safety front and center and a priority, and then back it up the way that this board has over the last 5 years. I think we put more money into our fire department in the last 5 years than previous commissions had put into it in the previous 30 years combined. So, thank you, sir. We appreciate you're out of time, sir. I'm sorry.
I got 8 seconds actually, and I'm going to make my last comment. If we have that ability to free up any extra space and we have the ability to pay our men and women, as a citizen, I would be more than honored for that to happen.
And I hope what you heard is
yes,
that we
I heard that. No, but I was just making a last comment
Okay.
that I want.
that you support that.
Yes.
What these guys are already doing.
Thank you, guys.
I love that. Any other public comment on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman? Aye. Commissioner Clark? Aye. Commissioner Farnsworth? Aye. Commissioner Martin? Aye. Commissioner Mazon? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. And we'll move to item 7, which is first reading of ordinance 2021-37. Mr. Attorney, would you please read that into the record on first reading? And let me just say, because I've had some questions, some confusion, we're not passing an emergency order here tonight. We're passing the ordinance that governs emergency orders here tonight, and I think the manager will reiterate that point. Mike, go ahead. I'm sorry. Mr. Attorney.
Agreed with your preamble there, Mr. Mayor. That's exactly, this is procedural, is what we're doing here this evening. This is ordinance number 2021-37, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, pertaining to procedures for declaring a state of emergency and related actions, amending Chapter 30 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Newberry to create Chapter 30, Article 2 regarding emergency management services, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2021-37 upon its first reading by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Attorney, as the mayor suggested in his introduction, as the city attorney affirmed, this is an ordinance that establishes the procedures by which the city would declare a state of emergency. And all credit due the city attorney's office for getting this on tonight's agenda. Once upon a time in 2018 or 19, the city undertook a charter review, which we should do every decade.
Feels like a
And
decade ago.
right smack in the middle of our charter were these procedures for how to declare a state of emergency, and they were not up to date. It essentially said that during a declared state of emergency, the mayor is in control of city operations, and you all know what a disaster that would be. No, I'm kidding. Terrible. I'm kidding, but it did conflict with our manager style of government, and the CRC, the Charter Review Committee, and the City Commission felt like that establishing a state of emergency in the charter that can only be changed by a vote of a referendum of our voters was too much. And the suggestion was, let's pull it out of the charter and let's adopt it by ordinance, which would be more appropriate and is what almost every city in Florida does. So it was deleted from the charter by referendum vote in 2019. And lo and behold, most of staff forgot about that until it came time to declare a state of emergency for the most recent tropical storm that was approaching Florida, and we needed to declare a state of emergency and didn't have a mechanism for doing that. And so the city attorney's office rushed, picked us all up, put this together, recognizing that Florida statutes now, in that statute, it encourages the cities to do exactly like this, and that most cities that have wherewithal are doing this. So we're getting ahead of the curve, like where we need to be. We'll put this on file with the county so that the county is recognized by the state as their agency that handles local emergencies. We'll have our state of emergency procedures on file with the county, and we will have it changeable by this board and not by vote of a referendum if this ordinance is adopted. So, Mr. Mayor, our recommended action. One, I'm available for any questions. I would tell you that it's pretty much that once we go into a state of emergency, that the staff and the manager have latitude to make decisions that are necessary to procure things that need to be procured. I'll give you an example. The city of Quincy was hit by Hurricane Michael, I believe, 2 years ago, the one that came in on the Panhandle. And 24 hours after that hurricane left, they assessed their electrical system damage at $3 million. There wasn't a pole standing, there wasn't a wire standing. And so they needed to do $3 million worth of work on their electric system ASAP. And they stood their electric system back up in about 10 days. They got mutual aid in. They did not have to wait for a city commission meeting to award a bid. In a state of emergency, your purchasing guidelines shift. And so that's kind of what this allows staff to do. The commission certainly has the ability to come in after it's declared, or the commission does the declaration, but has the ability to reel staff in if we get too far out there and say, no, we're not willing to do that. But I would tell you, during a state of emergency, most everything we're doing is being regulated by FEMA. This enables us to take advantage of those opportunities and seek reimbursement from FEMA. Sometimes FEMA's requirements for how you perform work differ from our normal purchasing requirements, and FEMA doesn't care. They want it done their way, or you would not get reimbursement. You know that on a declared storm, 87.5% of the funds that we expend will be reimbursable through the state and federal government. It means our taxpayers are on the hook for 12.5%. If we screw that up, the federal piece goes away. Well, really, the federal and the state piece goes away, and our taxpayers will be on the hook for the full 100%. So those are most of the things that this outlines. Is how we declare a state of emergency and what powers are delegated so that we can get through that emergency. And so staff's recommended action is to approve ordinance 2021-37 on first reading and authorize staff to advertise for and schedule second and final reading.
Okay, do we have any questions for Mike?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, one last thing. There's a substitute ordinance on the dais. We made just some very minor changes, city attorney's office did, and we have them on the dais, and this will be the one that's advertised for second reading should this be passed tonight.
Okay. Any questions from the dais for Mike? I have a motion from Commissioner Bard and a second from Commissioner Clark. Do you have a question on the motion on the floor?
I did, but it's all right.
Go ahead. Once we have a motion, still open.
have we, as a city, declared a state of emergency for Newberry? And if so, how did we do what we did without this ordinance being in place?
We held a special commission meeting. The mayor called a special commission meeting, and the commission made it so. But we would have to, if we were going to not have this ordinance, we would have to outline those responsibilities every time the commission makes it so. I guess we kind of had the hybrid. We knew what we needed to do, we just didn't have the legislation to back it up. So we winged it a little bit, and luckily we didn't spend a lot of money. The storm missed us, but it did highlight the fact that there was a gap in our game that we needed to close, and the city attorney's office rushed to the rescue, and hopefully we'll get this adopted before we need it.
Then we went to the middle school and handed out water bottles and fed people.
Yeah.
Is that right? Typically, other counties, they charge to manage this. Why do we need it?
I'm not sure if I understand you. I know each county, and one of the things that's differences between cities and counties are a subdivision of the state. Cities are not. So the state in its power delegates local emergency management to counties. So you'll see that there's a emergency operations center here in Alachua County and every other county, and they're funded through each county. But cities have their own issues to deal with in an emergency, and so the state statutes that govern these states of emergencies encourage cities to do what we're about to do. I would say that more than 50% of the cities that are our size and smaller probably have never done that, like we've never done it before, but almost every larger city has established an emergency operations procedure for declaring a state of emergency. It helps you get more in line with what you need to do and how you're coordinating with both the county and the state.
Commissioner Farnsworth?
Mike, I guess previously, if like 3 commissioners was out of the city or the state at the time that an emergency needed to be declared, we wouldn't have a quorum to do that. And so this will eliminate that possibility.
Way better than any of my previous answers, but thank you. That's a great answer.
I would say that in the interim between the charter change and now, we have drafted each single emergency order for a specific purpose. Now we have a sort of a template that it would be plug and play that we could just move forward with. Any other questions? Okay, I have a motion properly seconded on the dais. Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor to adopt ordinance 2021-37 on first reading. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That's going to take us to new item 8, which is FMPA's representative and an alternate. Mike, I have you as taking us through this agenda item. You're going right back down? You're just going to stay down there at the podium.
Carry it all with me, Mr. Mayor.
I think you're up the next 3.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this one goes very quickly. As you know, we are members, or we are part of, we are the Florida Municipal Power Agency, along with many other cities. 12 other cities are in the All Requirements Project. Our representative, the city for the past several years, was former Mayor Bill Conrad. He's moved away and has resigned that position, and the city needs to appoint a board member and an alternate. Staff recommends that we designate me. That feels kind of odd to say it should be me, but I have served in that capacity previously, and would like to serve again in that capacity, and that we designate Assistant City Manager Dallas Lee as the board alternate.
Okay. Thoughts, questions, motion? Commissioner Farnsworth?
Mike, I think you'd be an excellent person to do this. But I was also wondering if, like, we have all these people that are wanting to be on the planning and zoning board, if any one of them would be capable of doing something of that nature.
Before he answers that, I would just say there's a little bit of cost savings, because we already sent Mike down here to do those things, so now we kind of get a 2-for-1 by sending one person anyway. And this one is fairly highly technical.
This is extremely technical.
Yeah.
I would say that Mr. Conrad would go down a day before each board meeting, spend 6 hours with FMPA staff, going through the agenda package, and Mayor Conrad would tell you that it took him 4 or 5 years to come up to speed with the technical issues. When I look around the boardroom, there are, Mayor Conrad and one other person were the only elected officials in the room. The rest are usually electrical engineers, mechanical engineers that have their training, and their entire career is getting them ready to sit in that room and make decisions about how to make power for its members.
Other comments, questions, or do you hear a motion? Commissioner Clark.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think Mike's highly qualified, but is it, you already there, Mike?
Actually, I'm on the executive committee for FMEA, which is a separate organization. So I haven't been traveling with Commissioner Conrad being there, but I've served in that capacity before. And of the two boards, this is clearly the most important to our ratepayers. And when I showed that graph of the 14-year trend where our rates have dropped 20% over a 14-year period, 100% of that credit goes to Bill Conrad. This board appointed him, and he became a champion for lowering wholesale rates. And if you walked in that room while he was serving as our board member, he was constantly, the only decisions we're voting to approve, that Newberry's voting to approve, are ones that result in lower costs for our ratepayers. We're just telling you that from the get-go, and he did that for the entire time he served on that board.
My question too is, you're a city manager here, is this going to put more on you?
No, sir. This is the type of thing that your city manager should be doing.
Right in his wheelhouse.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, a second from Commissioner Maison. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Okay. Any public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Mike, you've got one public comment behind you.
Naeem Archad, I do have a comment, and this I will say as the chair of the Planning and Zoning. We have commercial insurance underwriters, we have commercial real estate, we have lawyers, and when we lost Bill Conrad, I would like to say as a comment, I think Mike New would be our best up to bat to represent Newberry. So as your chair of the Planning and Zoning, I will say that we have a great committee. However, I feel that Mike New is always, it would be the best to go up to bat to represent our city. So that would be my comment.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that comment. Any other public comment on the motion on the floor to approve Mike New to serve on the FMPA? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Mike?
Mr. Mayor, before we go on, I'll just take 1 second to advocate. The FMPA has a committee that they call the Policymakers Committee. I think they meet quarterly. That committee is especially geared toward elected officials, and really they make recommendations on the policy for FMPA as an organization to follow through on. If any of our elected officials are interested in traveling to Orlando once a quarter, learning more about public power and getting engaged in policy making for FMPA, I would strongly recommend it.
I think Commissioner Clark would be great at that. He's got the most background in electric, so we'll push him.
I can get back some more information on that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Martin and then Commissioner Farnsworth.
Go ahead. I was just wondering, we need to vote on Dallas being the alternate?
That's a good question. I forgot about Dallas. Was he part of the original motion?
Yes.
Was he part of the original motion? Then we do not.
Okay.
Good call.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Martin?
Bill Conrad got me into city politics, and I would like to, with a head nod, if we can work towards kind of recognizing his service to the city.
Already in the works.
Even beyond. Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Okay. Did we take a vote? No, I'm lost. Okay. We did we have the motion. Public comment on this? We already did that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Again, we already did that. Yeah, we started. Move on.
That's me.
You tried, but I just kept on going. All right, FMPA, agency transmission cost refund. Went down a little bit, Mike. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the Florida Municipal Power Agency and our monthly power bill, part of the charges on that, on our monthly power bill is for transmission costs. That's the cost of transportation of energy from some power plant in South Florida to Newberry. And all of that transmission system we're either utilizing is owned by Duke Energy or by Florida Power and Light. Their rates are established by the Florida Public Service Commission to protect the good ratepayers of Newberry and the rest of the state of Florida. However, even rates that are approved, there's plenty of room for errors to be made and negotiating to occur. So periodically, FMPA challenges both Duke Energy and FPL on those transmission charges. Probably every couple of years we do it. And most recently, we challenged both. For a 2-year period, I think it was 17 and 18 or 18 and 19. We challenged them. We filed suit. We settled for what our staff, FMPA staff, which I would consider to be our staff or your staff, settled was a fair amount. I don't know the gross amount of the settlement. It was probably millions, but Newberry's fair share of the settlement with those two agencies was around $17,000. Now, I would say that on an average month, transmission charges total 12% of our total bill, so they're not the lion's share, and that over the 2-year period that these refunds were negotiated, we paid about $6 million for wholesale power, and we're getting a refund of $17,000. So we are in the noise. This is not a huge refund by any stretch, but it is one that's fair and due to our ratepayers. So tonight's agenda item is what to do with the $17,000 checks that are going to be issued to the city of Newberry very shortly. Staff recommends that we deposit it in our utility rate stabilization fund, which is how we pay the PCA every month. When you vote on the PCA, it's we're making those payments out of our rate stabilization fund. We try to maintain a balance in there of $250,000 to $300,000. The way we use the fund is in peak months, dead of summer, like right now, when everybody's energy consumption is high and the cost for energy is high, we offer a subsidized PCA that softens the blow for our customers. And then in the shoulder months, when that would be the fall or the spring, where people just have their windows open and they don't need their air conditioning systems, we overcharge on the PCA and build it back up. So we try to levelize everybody's bill so they're not getting that double whammy of the most expensive energy plus high consumption during their peak months. So we try to maintain a balance in there around $275,000-ish, and this would be a $17,000 deposit. What it would look like on a monthly bill is that 1 month that we're recommending the PCA, instead of .005, which is our normal recommended PCA, it might look like .0045, meaning the average customer would save $5 a month, and we'll do that for a few months until $17,000 is burned up. So that's staff recommendation on what to do with it. The commission has some latitude, but I would remind the commission that this money is a refund to our electric customers, and that whatever we do with the funds probably should benefit our electric customers.
Commissioner Martin.
I know I asked this question before, but I don't remember if I got it. Do we not have a $100,000 credit floating somewhere?
We do not. That was mistakenly reported by the former FMPA representative that you had nominated, and he was terminated for that mistake. No, I'm kidding. It just was misinformation.
If there is a way on the bill to actually have a line item that says credit versus burying it in the power cost adjustment, which is less tangible, I think, to the reader, I would prefer that if we can execute that side of it.
That's a great idea, Mr. Mayor. I think that we can note on the bill that the bill reflects a credit that we receive for transmission charges, and we would have a lower PCA, and We could even speak to the savings to the average customer reflects a savings of X per month. That's a Dallas
So,
calculation.
Love to see a credit.
Are we blending those two ideas in? We're putting it into the PCA, but we identify on the bill that, so the
Correct.
money goes into the PCA, but then they say, hey, your bill is $5 less this month
We'll
because
calculate-
of this refund.
That's correct. We'll calculate what the PCA should be without the credit, and then we'll adjust the PCA until it reflects a savings of $17,000, and then we'll report that. We'll just put a note, an asterisk, like you said, on the bill.
Are you fine
and
with
report
that?
the
Or were you
savings.
I thought, what I heard you say was like a one-time lump sum, you got $20 off of your bill this
I mean,
month.
I think what he's talking about checks the box, but does it have to be over a period of months? Can we just do it
It can be instantaneous.
one shot?
That's what I
Everybody
heard you
divided by 17,000?
Correct.
Right.
That's what I would advocate, but.
So we would show on their bill, your bill is $150, but because of this refund, your bill is now $125. Is that?
No, sir, it won't quite work that way. Because, well, first of all, I'll tell you that our top 10 customers use about 75% of the energy. So if we proportionally gave it back, our residential customers would see 25 cents off of their bill, and our big customers like the school would see $300 off of their bill or $500 off their bill. So what we'll do is just average it and say $17,000 divided by 2,200 customers, and everybody saved X per month on average, and that'll be as good as it gets.
You're good with that? I have a sinking suspicion that we're not communicating very well, but it might just be me. Yeah.
I agree with him.
Yeah. All right, everybody else is following what Tim is talking about and good with that? Do you want to put that into a motion? Oh, question, Commissioner?
I'm good with it. How often do we get like a refund like this?
Mr. Mayor, on average, it's every 2 to 3 years or so that we end up with a refund of this nature, and I've never seen it where we owed money. Every time we make this challenge, we've been overcharged and we get a refund, but it's always, when you look at the total bill, it's always less than 1%.
Mr. Martin?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we have some language included in the bill reflecting the $17,000 credit for the city.
Correct.
And we do that through the PCA.
The credit would be reflected in the PCA cost adjustment, and it would be noted within the text of the bill.
Correct.
Okay, I have
Got that,
a,
Judy?
I do.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, second from Commissioner Clark. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Seeing none, any public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and we'll move on to the renovation of Newberry's electric generating plant. Mike, you're still on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You guys will be tired of me by the time we get through tonight. This is the last item. Mr. Mayor, this is an item I'm bringing back from March the 8th, 2021. It has to deal with the city's electric generating plant. I think a couple times a year, I'm asked either by the public or the city commission about when are we going to renovate that old plant. And so we decided well, let's get serious and find out what that's involved. And we did some research and found out that on 2 separate occasions, staff and the commission got rather enthused about it, got information, established an RFP one time, had some drawings put together, but nothing's really happened on it. We presume, we don't have any record, but we presume it was always cost prohibitive. So we, rather than go that route with it, we hired an architect to give us some renderings, to develop some renderings of what we could do with the building. And I guess I should start with recommended action, which is to receive a presentation that I'm about to give and to provide direction. And I won't go through the presentation in deep detail because we've already seen it once, but y'all know where the power plant is. It's down at what we call the city yard near Lois Fort Park, and we got some renderings from an architect about what it could be. Now, his concept was, what if we made it a museum dedicated to public utilities? Well, one room, we would renovate the room, and we would have some plaques in there explaining how the generator worked. The other room was where there's a deep pit. If you've been in the room, there's about a 25-foot deep wet well. Then that was for the city's water system. There was an elevated water tower on the site originally. There's a photograph of it. Has been taken down since then. But create a museum and potentially some extra rooms. We'd have to add bathrooms and parking to the site to meet our own land development code. And there's an extra room or two. Maybe they could be a foyer or a meeting room. And he developed lots of views, and I think you have all this presentation in a handout to you. So these are different views of how cool this building could look if we did all that. The architect went on to, there's the well, which is kind of the coolest thing. He put some plexiglass that you could walk out on top of the well. Thought, yeah, that's pretty neat stuff. So there's the generator. Doesn't look much like a generator to me, but I'll just chalk that up to his software. Here's the meeting room, some of the renderings of what the meeting room might look like. And the meeting room could be a community meeting room that people can just reserve. The mayor has a lot of meetings that are not necessarily city business. It could be like that. Any of those businesses that are not necessarily city operational business is what I should say. But everybody in Gainesville would love to get out of Gainesville and come to Newberry, so they may rent this for business meetings or something. But I would tell you the revenue opportunities wouldn't be great. I mean, we rent a lot of buildings. We have a lot of buildings for rent in Newberry. Most of those end up being reduced cost or free rent because somebody knows somebody or they work with a nonprofit. And so, but they do appreciate the space, and the taxpayers own the space, and people should have access to the space. So just more renderings. The architect developed an opinion of cost, and this is full services, fully furnished. When it's a walk out the door museum at $715,000, I would tell you that we could probably do some belt tightening, but I don't think we could do belt tightening beyond $500,000. I think that, I mean, there may be some fluff in there, but there's not 200% fluff. There's not, $500,000 in fluff, and we could actually do it for $200,000. So the next steps that were identified in this, if the city wanted to pursue that, would be to begin design, then go through procurement, and then into construction. And so that's part one of the presentation about renovating the old power plant for public use of the city. And I'll pause for questions, and then I'll tell you about an unsolicited alternative that we were approached with.
Do we want to hear that before we come back to questions, or anyone have questions about the presentation that we've already heard back in March?
I would just propose, Mike, that when he draws it again, the mountains are not in the background. We're not really in that area.
Very astute. Very astute.
All right, Mike, go ahead through. Hang on one second. Mike.
Sorry. It's an old building. I was driven by there like quite a few times, and I understand the roof leaks. So should we address that before we start the renovating?
Already in the works.
It is?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we have a bid.
That's the second time I got to say already in the works. I never get to say that. Like, we're already working.
We do have it in the works, and we also have a funding source. But we have not been directed by the commission to allocate that funding source. So right now it's plugged into next year's budget. And we would begin that work on October 1, regardless of what the city commission chooses to do. If they say, Mike, begin renovations, get an architect and start on design, or they said, no, select let's go to RFP and let's try to privatize the building, or if they say, we're not ready to do anything yet, Mike, just sit on it, I would say that we repair the roof, and it's programmed into October's budget, so that's a staff recommendation. And I think Commissioner Clark has been a real champion for that. He's kept it on our forefront. He's not let us get too far behind us. Thank you for the question.
Let's hear about second.
So, Mr. Mayor, sometime during the late fall last year, around Christmas time, we were connected to a group that wanted to put a microbrewery in town, and we must have showed them 12 sites. and none of the sites really worked out. And they'd have a successful brewery elsewhere and thought Newberry would be a perfect host city for one. So we showed them 12 sites. They liked most of them, but there was always the why any site wouldn't work. So we were meeting to kind of debrief and about what wasn't going to work and take our next run at what might work when we were in the middle of this power plant discussion. And so, the thought was, well, let's run them through the building and see what they think. And we went through the building, and they think they could make a go of it. To convert it into a microbrewery. They've indicated a preference, a commitment to preserving the generator and the water well for historic relevance. They would create a tap room, they would add the bathrooms, they would have some green space as what they call a beer garden. And so knowing that in government we can't just decide to do that, we did want to present that to the commission as an alternative, what it might look like. So what it might look like is that the city would transfer a little over half an acre plus the building and enough room to build whatever else is needed, a production area, restrooms, parking, those sorts of things, to a private entity with conditions that they develop the site in a manner that was promised in an RFP or whatever we could agree to. There would definitely be a contract associated with what happens so that the city could claw back if our partner in this didn't perform. So potential contract terms on a land purchase, and again, these would be hammered out if the commission wants us to pursue it. But some potential contract terms are there'd be a reverter clause. So we would start the process, in my mind, with transferring the property and the building by warranty deed to someone to get it on the tax rolls. But if they're not prepared to pay for it because there's a significant capital investment, the thought is we may allow them to defer payment for a period of time, say maybe 5 years. But we get them a warranty deed, gets it on the tax rolls, so there's a reverter clause if they don't perform and hold up their end of the bargain where the building just comes straight back to the public. They can't just flip it. If they do all the improvements and they perform and then they decide to sell this successful business enterprise, we might include in there a right of first refusal if they want to sell it. And I'm not so sure the city wants to buy a brewery if they performed, but again, we're imagining an RFP process doesn't necessarily mean a brewery will be the winner of the process. So we would establish the purchase price, agree upon through an appraisal and through negotiations before we ever sign the contract. It'd be written into the contract that says this is how much you're going to owe the city at the end of time certain, 5 years or whatever we decide. A condition, staff recommends that the power plant generator must stay on display as a generator and tell the history of that particular piece of equipment. The city would probably be responsible for land use and zoning change. You guys know well that when someone wants to buy a property for development, they get a contract and it's conditional. That a contract with the property owner is if I can get the land use changed and the zoning changed, then I'll buy the property. But I'm not going to close on the property with it being unzoned and then find out that for some reason I can't get it zoned properly. So we take it through the land use change and the zoning before it ever transferred property. The successful bidder would renovate the building and make the construction improvements. And then staff kind of added at the bottom as an idea for consideration that the proceeds from the sale be used to improve an adjacent street. So we think, again, we haven't had an appraisal, we think the building is going to be worth between $225, $250, $275, and that would be the cost to repave a road and put in sidewalks on the adjacent side street. So it just made sense that maybe if we make revenues out of that we just reinvest it right straight back into the same neighborhood that we left. So they had an architect that actually had the same name as the architect we use. They had all the base files, so the architect developed some renderings of what, this is more of a site plan that I'll kind of show you. Here's a rendering. They keep the building and they've added a 5,000 to 8,000 square foot production facility to the back. I think if they add anything new to the exterior of the building, it's got to go through our HARB, and that any facades would probably have to be compatible with the existing building. We don't want to detract from the existing building. But that's what their architect came up with, these renderings. So just a couple of those. And then I've mentioned some street enhancements. If you have to use your imagination, because I'm not a fantastic artist or anything, but if you look at the image there on the right side of the page, you can see that green arrow running at a 40, or green line running at a 45-degree angle. That's the old railroad bed. And down below that in black is the westbound lane of the Twin Pairs. And then so that street there is 260th that's running between the power plant and Lowell's Fork Park. So the additions include room for angle parking on both sides of the street, sidewalks on both sides of the street, new travel lanes, and using our imaginations, we drew in a little slip lane there where we could put a number of food trucks for Saturday events at the park, should they want to do something like that, and the city could reserve that. That would probably be independent of whoever takes possession of the generating plant, but most everything we could imagine it would be compatible with. So, and I estimated the cost for those street improvements to be in the $300,000 range. So, Mr. Mayor, there's a section view of the same. You can see the cool little food trucks and all the people that are lined up to use those food trucks. And, Mr. Mayor, I'm available for questions if you have any.
Okay, so before we open it up to questions, I just want to remind everybody that when you're talking about RFPs, we're not making any decision here tonight. All we're talking about tonight is, do we want to put a request for proposals and see what's out there? We know that we have one interested party and is interested in a microbrewery, so the conversation here tonight has been about that. But once you put an RFP out, anybody and everybody is equally has the right to put in their proposal. What the staff would want from us is, what are all of the criteria, which is what Mike went through, right? What are all the things we'd want to put in the request proposal so that when people come back and make that proposal to us, they're doing something that we would potentially say yes to. So I think there's two questions here tonight. One's the first one, are we interested in renovating this building ourselves? One's the second one, are we interested in an RFP? And then if we are interested in RFP, are you looking for the commission to go through those criteria of what's going to go in there tonight, or just staff, go generate an RFP, bring that RFP back, and we'll go through the criteria?
The latter.
Okay,
we've developed this RFP once for Berry Park. We didn't move forward with it, but that would be the basis. We'd bring it back for the commission as an idea generator. Here's what we came up with. What do you think? We'd have some discussion. I'm sure there would be more ideas put back into it, and then we'd be ready to issue the RFP if the commission so directed.
Okay, so just so we're all clear on the timeline here, if the commission said tonight, right, we may want to think about this another meeting. We may be ready to move forward. But let's say we were ready to move forward tonight. At the next meeting, since we already have the templates, we would have that, or do you think 30 days?
30 be better.
So 30 days, we'd have the RFP, we would discuss, is this the RFP we want? Then it goes out for another
30 days.
30 days, then we would see what's out there, then people would come in and they would make whatever pitch they have to make. That's kind of how that timeline. So from the moment you guys say go with the RFP, you're looking at minimum a 2-month window before you have people standing in front of you making those pitches. The last thing I would say, and then we'll open up the floor, if I think it is important, if we vote to go out to RFP, I think it's important that we acknowledge the fact that if somebody comes in and hits every single marker of the RFP that we put out, that we're willing to move forward with whatever we said. I think it's disingenuous to put out an RFP, and then we have 3 companies that come back, they've each spent some amount of money developing these, and then we say, well, we just wanted to see what was out there, but we didn't really have any intention of selling that building or entering into a partnership. So I think it's important for us to, sort of articulate those kinds of conversations. And with that, Commissioner Clark.
Okay, so number one, Mike, thank you for keeping an eye on the ball with the roof. We've got to get that done no matter what we do here. If not, the thing's going to pots. And my second question would be, in some of these proposals, what are they going to do with the jails? Is there are we just going to give it to them, they're going to tear those down? Are they staying in? Are they historical or not?
They're definitely historical.
No, are there any landmarks attached to these things, like downtown historical things or anything like that?
The answer is yes, and they are historical, and I think that we are working on some concepts that would ultimately put the decision of what to do with the old jail in the commission's hands. I think we're probably 30 days away from being able to.
Don't that go with it? It's not in the same line as this brewery, or this?
I think we could exempt them from a land transfer. I think staff is working on a creative way. We got Mr. Jones on it, Mr. Jamie Jones, and he excels in
What's the
creativity.
possibility of moving one of those buildings, Mike?
Well, it's a brilliant idea. Mr. Jones is going to let us know what that possibility is within just a few weeks. He's got a firm coming in to evaluate just that this week.
So,
I hear that Monty's grandfather escaped from that jail. Is that true?
Multiple times.
At the time, though, it was considered more inescapable than Alcatraz.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
No, go ahead, Commissioner.
I would just say, for me personally, we got a new commissioner. I don't know if Tony's been down there. I have with you, Mike. I'd say we do this again, a boots on the ground walk, and walk around, table this for one more meeting, and let us look at this thing again and decide with some people really going out there to see it. I don't know if you all been down and looked around it and seen everything. I think we should all do that.
I've driven by there, but I've never actually been in it.
Well, just to see the
Yeah.
whole part of what we're talking about.
Yeah. I've driven in the utility
We'd love
yard
to tour you through
times,
it.
but I've never walked inside the building.
Well,
Okay, Commissioner Martin.
I'm in favor of moving forward with the RFP, and I wouldn't necessarily hold that up another 2 weeks on the account of me getting over there to look at it. I don't think that would affect my decision at this point.
Okay, I think it is possible that we direct staff to go ahead and begin changing the RFP. Before we send it out, it has to come back to us again. So I think Commissioner Martin is right that we could, and then let the commission have that month that the staff is going to be working on developing the RFP to go over there. And it's certainly possible that we call off staff halfway through, or we bring it forth and we say, we don't like this concept. So maybe we can move forward on both of those fronts without holding up the time, and just say to, especially the new commissioners and folks who haven't been over there recently, let's get over there, walk around it and see. In my mind, whether we push this 2 weeks or whether we say staff go and develop the RFP, it would be worthwhile for us to have a conversation here about what our end goal here is, because what we have been saying, and we've had this conversation a lot here recently, and I get that we can only do so much at one time, but that building has been in a state of deterioration for quite some time, because as the city manager opened up, we have these moments where we start talking about it, and we get really excited, and we go get some information, and then we get distracted on something else. So I don't see this board, given everything else that we're trying to do right now, put $500,000 into it or $700,000 into it. Are we willing to entertain the RFP and see what's out there? Are we completely against it, Commissioner Farnsworth?
Since it's a historic building in the city of Newberry, I don't have any desire whatsoever to sell it to anyone else. I think it should be kept and maintained by the city. And that goes along with the jails too. I don't think either one of those should be in the hands of private citizens.
Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in? Commissioner Clark?
Well, I'm going to say, number one, this thing's been going down here for a long time, and some of the board members right here have been a part of it. Ain't been no money spent on it. We ain't tearing the thing down. We are just rebuilding it, making it a better building. So, me personally, I'm for selling it as long as it gets us back on the tax roll. Ain't nobody tearing it down. It's made to put back in use. I think it'd be a great place for people to visit. That's I hear Commissioner Farnsworth about it, but it's doing us no good sitting there rotting.
Okay, Commissioner Martin?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as well. I mean, we just don't have the money to do it ourselves. And I'd like to think if we put it together a nice tight RFP that we can probably get somebody to at least come in there, they'd be investing their money in it. And it actually would be enjoyed by people because there's 0 people enjoying it right now. And if we kept it, the financial burden there, I think, is probably more than I have appetite for.
I can tell you that, when the city manager talks about how little revenue we make off of renting meeting space, I mean, it's hardly worth even factoring in. And one thing we haven't talked about was in Mike's presentation, depending on the timeline here, this could all work out really fortuitously with the two-way pairs, where you have 2 lanes going that way, and now we have a bookend on our downtown area that's really pulling people into Newberry all the way down. If you're in this world of visiting microbreweries, you understand how family-friendly they are. I think the location to Lois Fort Park is actually a plus here. These are really meant for folks to come and spend an afternoon with their families. So I like the idea of the streetscaping, beautifying that part, and I like the idea of expanding our downtown draw. So anybody else want to weigh in? I've heard 3 say we need to find a partner if we want to save this building. Anyone else want to weigh in? Commissioner Martin?
With regards to the actual language within the RFP, I think what you've got is a fine skeleton from, I mean, there wasn't anything real particular that I
Mr. Mayor, just 2 things. One is by using the RFP vehicle versus the bid, in a bid process, whoever offers the most money wins. And, if we're just worried about finances, maybe that's fine, but then their idea may be, well, we're just going to bulldoze it and do something brand new on the lot. With the RFP process, the commission gets to make the decision on who the winner is based on what they think is best for our community. So they'll factor offering price, but they'll also factor someone who says, I'm going to make it for public use and consumption on a 24/7 basis, and someone else that says, I just want it for my own personal little museum and we're going to lock the public out. I just think it's a cool building. You may say that's not in the public's best interest and we're not interested in going that route. So an RFP process gives you latitude. Also, I want to introduce one of the representatives from the company that approached us is in the audience tonight. His name is Chris Mobus, and he's available for questions. He's not the guy. We haven't gone through an RFP process, but if you want to ask him questions about what his thoughts may be, I think at a generic level, he's available. That's why he attended tonight, to be available to answer your questions.
Can you come on up, sir? I think the question I'd like to ask is, did you agree with everything the manager said? You guys are interested in maintaining the historical, architectural significance, relevance of the building?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We, my partners and I, my brothers and I have, we've done this before, and we've always kind of taken a piece of what the city is. We're not trying to come in and change much. We really want to celebrate what the city of Newberry is. And Mike tapped into it perfectly. Okay. Into what we're going to do.
Was that a beer joke?
Pretty much. Mr. Martin. Very well done. You see what I did there. But the reality is yes, is that the first time we walked onto that building, there was just so much character to it and so much life about it. We love the city of Newberry, and we've always looked at that. And as Mr. Newd mentioned, we looked at 12 to 15 different properties, and all of them were intriguing in some component, some aspect, but it always came back to that power plant. And there is so much uniqueness to that building.
It's a cool building.
It's a really cool building. If you haven't been there, I would encourage you to go look at it. You don't really realize what's in it until you get into it. And we would preserve 95% of it, to be perfectly honest with you. There's some stuff we'd have to retro into it, just to bring it kind of
Gotta
up
have
to...
bathrooms.
Add bathrooms,
Gotta have
without question, gotta have bathrooms, no question about it. But we would love to preserve really some of the characteristics and some of the pieces of it to celebrate the city of Newberry, and obviously we'd have to work with the historic district to make sure we maintain some of that, and that's something we'd be very, very, very interested in taking on and joining you all with doing that.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, this is not including the jail, correct? This is just the generator.
The jail is open for conversation.
Yeah, I think that we'd have to probably find some agreement. Now, personally, I don't believe we would have much use for that.
You would now?
Wouldn't have much use for that. But again, that would be part of the discussions. I believe that we would figure out what's best to do, for sure.
Yeah, that's what Monique's grandfather said.
Any other?
That's not
Any other questions? And I just want to compliment you, one, on the job that you guys do over there in High Springs. I know a lot of people hear microbrewery and they get, they hear different words in their head, and they say, I don't want that anywhere. You guys run, it's just a family-friendly environment. You got kids out there playing games. You've got, family reunions happening, friends sitting around. I hear nothing but great things from the elected officials over in High Springs whenever your name comes up, and I also appreciate the diligence and how much you've looked at Newberry. Sure. I have not been with you on all of those trips, but I know that you have really scoured a location to come to us. And that, our motto is we believe in Newberry, and when you work this hard to open up a business in Newberry, that shows me that you believe in Newberry too.
We certainly do. We certainly do, and we certainly appreciate the kind words too. If you all haven't been out there to High Springs Brewing Company, it is really, it's a very unique place. It is family driven. We really put our money where our mouth is when it comes to that. Myself and my three brothers, who are the co-founders of High Springs Brewing Company, we all have children between the ages of 4 and 18. So the drive has always been to build a family-friendly institution. We have big fields out there, big parks. We have probably more baseball games and soccer games going on than we have anything else. Great live music, very friendly people, great food trucks. It's a great time. I would certainly encourage you guys to come on out and check it out and take a look, and we'd certainly love to do something similar here within the city, absolutely.
Commissioner Mazon?
Yeah, McKinley actually played out there, his brother. I went there when he played.
Okay.
His little band. Just for me, some clarity here. Sure. So with the reverter clause, we will get, going off of what Monty's not wanting to do, sure, we will get first dibs, no matter how much that brewery's worth.
Well, the reverter clause means if they don't do their side, it just reverts
If we
back.
go into the deal, then obviously, yes, the reverter clause would kick in.
The right of first refusal means if they want to sell it, we get first dibs.
First shot at it.
Okay.
So there's two different clauses there that protect us to get it back.
To get it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think the citizens will let us buy a brewery in this.
Well, we have to convert it into
If we move in, we're here for the long haul.
Any other questions?
I'll just say thank you for coming, number one, and I do appreciate, I know in High Springs, y'all have done some great things for the community, and that could roll over to this community too.
Certainly.
The Marine Corps Ball was there, y'all have done some, so thank you for doing all that.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
We certainly will, without question, without question. There's no question.
Okay,
It's good to see you too, Mr. Coleman.
We need a vote.
we will need a motion here in a minute.
We don't have a motion, right?
We do not. Okay, any more questions? One last? All right, Mike, if you'll come back.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mike, what we're looking for tonight is a motion to move forward with an RFP, that the language would come back within 30 days, which would give the commission plenty of time to get out there, look around, and then if something changes, right, we have that opportunity. Do I hear that motion?
Cornhole tournaments.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clark. I have a second from Commissioner Coleman. Questions or comments on the motion on the floor from the dais? Seeing none. Public questions or comments on the motion on the floor? Seeing none. All those in favor, roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Farnsworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Mazon?
Yeah.
Motion passes 4-1 with Commissioner Farnsworth in dissent. That takes us to comments. City Manager? You want to go second tonight? Mr. Attorney, you have any comments?
None, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Sorry about that.
Bought me a lot of time. I was going to venture third. Madam Clerk, do you have any comments tonight? All right. How you doing now, Mr. Manager?
I'm good to go. Mr. Mayor, I only have one item, and just want to remind the commission that the CRA that we submitted, that you approved a few weeks ago, and was actually more than a few weeks ago, but was approved by the city commission, is going to be considered by the county commission tomorrow morning at 11:30. Catch us live. We're going to be there to answer any questions, and we are expecting approval of the CRA that's been submitted. Matter of fact, we believe that the county is going to approve it, maybe one better than what you approved. So our best case scenario, I think, is what the county commission will approve. So just want you guys to be on the lookout for that. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments.
Well, thank you.
No, it doesn't. This Saturday, 9 o'clock, is a commission workshop related to the community visioning. We'll make sure that, I think that's on everybody's calendar, but 9 o'clock here, City Commission room.
It's here now, not Easton?
Here.
Okay.
At 9.
Here at 9 o'clock. This one's, the ones we've been having previously have been for the community. The commission was asked to, if you attend, listen. This one will be more of a workshop setting where the commission is going to be sitting as the commission, but having more candid discussion about those things. The public is invited, and the public will be welcome to comment, but this one is focused on the commissioners' thoughts about where they want to see this community head for the next decade. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That concludes.
Everybody going to be in attendance Saturday?
Maybe. We might be short one.
One or two?
I'll try my best.
I'll be there.
All right. So we'll have a quorum. We'll have at least 3.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
4.
Maybe 3. Sounds like 3.
That's when Monty's garage selling, is at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Commissioner Coleman, you got any comments?
I just want to thank everybody for all the prayers. If y'all notice, this is the first time I came in without a wheelchair, walker, or a walking stick. So progressing every day, and I really don't push people. Well, I do. My personality is that way, but I got to address a lot of people coming up. Not a lot, but quite a bit that I got to talk to, and you want to look at them and go, look, guys, you got to get the shot. Just get the shot. I mean, what's it going to do? I mean. But I also understand, before COVID, I was so against it. But I just experienced something that was awful, y'all. So I consider us all friends up here. So if you were to look at me right now and say, "What do you think, man?" If you hadn't got it, I'm telling you. I just got to finish my last shot last Friday, had no symptoms. I went with Pfizer, but I know where you're at if you haven't, because it's crazy. You don't know who to believe. But right now, I'm telling you, get the shot. The ones that are getting affected, that are in Shands or North Florida, that got the shot, is a lot. It's not near as bad. Look at those, that's in the, well, it's online, but, and then we really need to pray for Swanee County, Taylor County, and Lafayette County, and Columbia County. That's the biggest hot spot. I've lost a cousin, I've lost an aunt. They don't know yet, but I lost a dear friend growing up. He was a pastor over in Mayo. Trying to think, it's just crazy over there. And they're burying dead, young people. Yeah, they're burying dead, but it's, they're a lot younger than me. So I just wish everybody would, pray about it or read more on it or whatever. I really think that's the way for us to go. And Pfizer is the only one that has been approved now. The other two have not. And I guess that's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's, coming from you, those are powerful words, your experience, your family's experience, so I appreciate you sharing that testimony. Commissioner Clark?
I'll say, well, he hit a nail on the head there. Pray for my son-in-law. He's in ICU right now, so, at 32 years old. But hopefully he gets out of this. But, yeah, go ahead and get it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Farnsworth?
I have an opportunity to look over, for my job, is to review charts. And I look about 30 charts a day. And of those 30 charts, 28 of them are patients that have COVID, where a year and a half ago was nothing of that nature. You'd have the routine pneumonia and the strokes and the heart attacks and that kind of thing, but now it's all COVID. And it's really devastating, and you look at the ages of these people, and they're in their young 20s up until, I think I saw one that was 93 years old. And you always see that little line, patient was not vaccinated. Patient was not vaccinated. You see it over and over again. And, I totally understand people having doubts about it and fears about it, but if you ever actually catch the virus, then you'll be wishing you did take the vaccine. At least it gives you some defense against the virus. And just found out that Governor DeSantis has designated the Fellowship Church in High Springs as the antibody treatment center. So if you do end up with COVID, you might need to go over there and get your antibodies to get a head start against that virus. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Martin? Commissioner Mazon?
Whew. So, I want to thank everybody for coming, giving your input. I want to thank Babe Ruth softball team again. Congratulations to them. Love all you guys. Love all you guys. Love all you guys. That's all I have.
Well, I can't beat that. I mean, that's as good as it gets. Hey, I got to thank Travis, our Parks and Rec director, on multiple fronts. We had some citizen input about some problems at the Freddie Warmack building, and he got on it. I mean, he just went right down the list. We had an event there this weekend, and I didn't even bring it to his attention. He was watching the meetings, and he just took care of it. So one, thank you to him and his team for doing that. And then I want to ask the city manager, I'm going to put it in an email too, but Travis and his team really helped out on the historical marker ceremony this weekend, making sure that event ran very smoothly. The sound worked, everything happened. He spearheaded a beautiful memorial, and I cannot praise him and his team enough for doing that. It was universally acclaimed. Everybody that came just was drawn to it. Thanked everybody for working on it. Ms. Lisa already brought up the art show, but again, one last time, I want to thank my students, Caitlin Oxer, who partnered with Firehouse Gallery in Main Street in 1906 to put on a night in Newberry that we had never done anything like that before. And it really was an opportunity. The artists made connections, they sold art, they helped each other, they networked, and we had I don't know, probably 60, 70 people in and out of that building. I had to leave halfway through, and there were still people coming in. So it was a really good night. The quilt that is a memorial for the Newberry Six that was created by a subcommittee in Alachua County. They're a group of women who are quilters, and they wanted to get involved, and so they're going to make a memorial quilt for every community that's engaging in Truth and Reconciliation. They did Newberry's first. It's hanging in the art gallery. You can see it through the big glass window. You don't even have to go in, so you can stop by there and see their work. They will, as soon as the show is over, they will come over and present it to the board. It belongs to the city of Newberry. They're going to gift it to us. So and the art show is going for about a month, so it'll be up for a month. Go in and check it out. The students of student government at Newberry High School and the criminal justice students are putting together a 9/11 memorial that will happen on 9/11. So 9/11 is a Saturday this year. We don't have all of the details worked out, but it will happen on the football field at Newberry High School. So if you're looking for something to attend, if you feel like you need to be surrounded by a community, remember this is the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So if you don't want to spend that alone, if you want to be with other people to commemorate, put that on your calendar to come to Newberry High School. My thought is it's going to be open all day and you can kind of come in and out. You don't have to be there at a scheduled time. We had our concert out at Pat Post Farms this last weekend, and I have to say I didn't receive one complaint, which I think is a good thing. However, I could hear the concerts much more than when we originally approved for those kinds of activities to happen at Pat Post Farm. It was always going to be because the music and the noise was going to be down inside the pit, and we made a whole lot of assurances to the folks around. They came and did 2 different presentations about how the music inside the pit and the trees that are all over it would kind of contain it and push it up, and it wouldn't go out. And I was, in my backyard, and I'm 2.5, 3 miles away from the event. I could fairly clearly make out the music. Inside my house with the TV on, I could still hear the music. And when the fireworks went on, I could hear that as well. Now, I said they did exactly what they said. Fireworks started at like 9:55, and they were done right when they said they were going to be done. So my comment really is just to remind the commission that when we originally approved this, we approved concerts happening inside the pits. Now, Sister Hazel, I could not hear. So this is the second concert they've had out there. I heard Sister Hazel when they were tuning up, and that was pretty loud, but the concert I didn't hear at all. This one I could hear. This one was really loud. I'm amazed that people didn't complain, but maybe they're just sort of frustrated. They thought, well, I've complained enough, and they're still approving events out there. So, I'm getting tired. So I just want to put that back on our plate, that we did have a pretty strict stipulation when we said that these kinds of events could happen out there. So we've had 2 events. None of them happened in the pit, So I think that we might want to revisit before we approve another one and just ask why aren't these events happening down in the pit where they were pitched to us, where they were sold to us? Because it's a really cool location to have these kinds of things, and it would certainly mitigate a lot of that. My last question is about the fireworks. What have we gotten on the fireworks? Scott, do you know?
No, but we'll have a report next meeting.
Okay, so next meeting we'll come back, and the commission still hasn't decided whether there's a universal ban or we're going to allow them with certain stipulations. That's what you're going to come back to us with. Okay, so next meeting we'll do that. All right, that does it for me. I'll thank everybody for coming to the art show and to the ceremony on Saturday. It was a great night. EJI, the Equal Justice Initiative out of Montgomery, Alabama, just nothing but praise for the city of Newberry, Alachua County, the work that we've done. It really was phenomenal. And with that, public comments. Come on down, sir. You've waited all night. Introduce yourself to us.
Hello, Commission. First, I wanted to say I'm astounded at the atmosphere here. I come from Gainesville, and it's nighttime. day. Nobody's angry, people are laughing. But, yeah, my name is Tyeria P. I'm a candidate for District 21, Florida House. I'm representing Alachua, Gilchrist, and Dixie counties. And I just wanted to formally introduce myself to all of you. And
Is your green light on, sir? Look at the bottom. Is that little button there? If it comes on the bottom of the base, then you're, you just go.
Hello?
There you go. There you go. All right, restart all over. I apologize. You always come to us. Well, the folks at home can't hear that.
Oh, okay, yes. Oh, okay, perfect, thank you. Well, I just said that the atmosphere is astounding. Oh, and there's AC, that's another plus. And nobody's mad. But I came here to formally introduce myself. I'm a candidate for District 21, representing Alachua, Gilchrist, and Dixie counties. And my question actually here to the commission is there anything that you would like to see in your representation? Because I'd like to represent you as good as you represent Newberry, because you guys are represented very well, you carry yourself well, like I said, night and day. So if there's anything apolitical that you guys would want to see in your representative, for example, what I would like to see in myself is more, in comparison to my competition, is more presence in the communities. So that's why I'm here today. So if there's anything.
I think what we would love is if you have cards or something like that to leave with us, and I think those kind of conversations people like to have, one-on-one, where they have a chance to sort of talk about it and those kind of things. Do you have a website or Facebook page, phone number, email you want to announce to the folks watching?
Yes, absolutely. If you find me on my website, voteapia.com, that's voteappiah.com, and I'll give out my cards. My name is Tyeria Pia, that's Tayari. Last name Appiah, Appiah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming out. Any other public comment? Come on down, ma'am. Oh, don't fall.
Uh-oh.
It's the end of the night. I get a little
Good
tired.
evening. My name is Lisa Darling, and I'm here again. And first of all, thank you, Mayor Marlowe, and to the commissioners and the attorney and manager. First of all, thank you for saying what they have done with the Freddie Womack Center. I have not followed up on it, but I'm so glad to hear that it's been done. I'm back at school now, so that's why, and my life has gotten busier again. I'm also here to, I think it's Wayne Clark. I don't know if he's here or if he was here. He's the code enforcement. I put in a concern last month in July about my neighborhood and getting it cleaned up and everything, and he has gotten it into works. And I don't know the process, but I think he said it's like 30 days before they have to go back and do something again. So I just want to make sure that that's still in the works, because there are cars that are parked there, no tags. They're parking on the sidewalk, and I'm trying to make our community beautiful. And I'm part of the Concerned Citizens of Newberry, and I've just put a new addition to my house. Thank you to the person for passing the code enforcement. And and if we ever get ready to sell our house, we're not going to be able to get a good amount because of how the neighborhoods look. So if you all could just check into that, I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, you will see my lovely face here, hopefully every second and fourth Monday.
Wonderful. We'd love to see it. Yeah. Other public comment? Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, anything left? No? Commissioner Martin?
I didn't have comment before, so I can.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking, I wanted to say something. I didn't know if we could still.
Yeah, you can. I personally know Ty. I didn't actually know that he was coming here tonight, but I've know him very well over the last couple of months, and I think he's an outstanding candidate.
All right.
Mr. Maison?
I was wanting to, piggyback off of her with our code enforcer, Wayne. I don't know if you guys have seen him around town, but he is a bulldog. I am dead serious. I'm driving my truck, and I see this car. He pulls over, and he sees this hood cap in the middle of the street. He pulls over, he gets out of his vehicle, he turns his lights on, he gets out, and he picks it up. And I pulled over next to him, I stopped my truck, and I said, man, good job. Good job, you. He's done a couple things to me because I've had, clients complain, and when I go to him, he's on it. So to piggyback off of her, that guy is, we got, who did we hire him?
I did.
Good job.
I just want to note how much praise we're getting on code enforcement right now, because that's normally not how this conversation goes, so I appreciate citizens stepping up and saying, hey, we need to work on these things, because when you say it, ma'am, that makes a whole, when we say it, that's just big bad government harassing people, but we've hired code enforcement because people like you have said, we have these issues, we have these problems, and we've spent, 5 or 6 years with kit and gloves trying to work with people, and then we decided it was time to go to a different approach with folks who were continually not willing to work with us, and so I'm glad to hear the praise. And next time he stops to get something out of the road, maybe you shouldn't put your truck in the middle of the road holding the traffic. Oh, okay, Mr. Manager.
Before you adjourn, in all seriousness, our very fine code enforcement officer and our very fine building official that you saw earlier tonight, and that Ms. Darling also praised, were hired by Brian Thomas, our planning director.
There we go.
In truth and fairness, he's the one responsible for those hires.
Awesome. And Brian is the main author of the CRA, which is going to be positively voted on by the BOCC tomorrow. All right. Wonderful. Any last comments from the public? Seeing none, we are adjourned.